KCC Nigeria. Another minister may soon be caught by Tony Iradia. Now, wow. So, this issue of corruption, money laundering, and diversion of funds is going to be probably unending. Okay, as more and more is being unraveled, being exposed. In many developing societies where the government of the day is unable to provide basic facilities to improve living standards, the way out is usually to resort to the tokenish of distributing palliatives to citizens. Nigeria adopted the option in 2015, an option which from inception has been unable to wear a transparent and credible toga. No one, including those in government, had faith in Sadiya Farouk, pioneer Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, as well as her officials who were mandated to superintend the subject during President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. The posture of the ministry was as if it was established to cater for friends and relatives rather than the vulnerable. So much went wrong, but nothing happened to anyone on account of poor performance. Okay. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's suspension of new minister Beta Edu was therefore hailed across Nigeria and beyond, not because Edu's alleged infractions surpassed several allegations leveled against her predecessor, but because it was the first time since the Obasanjo years that a minister was being held accountable in our climb. Indeed, it appeared that the idea of ministerial accountability in any sector was never contemplated by Buhari. Although he managed to sack two ministers, Sabo Nanono, Agriculture, and Saleh Maman, Power, the real reason for their removal were not made public. On the other hand, analysts who have closely monitored the activities of new government of President Tinubu may have feared that Minister Beta Edu was heading to a crash because she had been driving on the fast lane for some time, and she probably did not realize that provincial Calabar was not same as metropolitan Abuja. While serving in Cross River State as Commissioner for Health, Edu did a few things that inevitably attracted public indignation. First, she stood by Governor Ben Ayade to pretend that the worldwide infection COVID-19 pandemic didn't even pass through Cross River State, let alone to have a single foothold there. Why this pitched the state against the relevant federal regulatory agencies, she was quoted to have said that ordinary residents of the state received text messages in which they were promised millions just to claim they were coronavirus positive. So, in addition, Edu herself, a medical doctor, was accused of falsification of records when she authoritatively claimed that Cross River State had 105 medical doctors, whereas the state, according to the local branch of the Nigerian Medical Association, had 33 doctors. She therefore left Calabar as a government of propagandists with a little or no feeling for the sensibilities of the citizenry. Now, with ample charisma, she easily found her way into the leadership cadre of the ruling party, first as the national women leader, before securing the lucrative portfolio of Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. etc. Everything appeared working well for her, making her to quickly develop the inclination to prioritize politics over governance. So at her ministry's first budget defense, she solemnly assured federal legislators of her robust plan to carry them along in the distribution of palliatives. Painfully, outspoken Senator Aline Dume did not warn her about his famous discovery that if you see a minister or big person anywhere going personally to do something, know that there is something wrong. If not, what has the minister got to do with going from state to distribute palliatives? They should be in the ministry monitoring activities. Dume discovery was widely publicized via a major news conference in Maiduguri in 2020. So if Edu didn't hear Ndume, there is doubt if she never heard the public outcry by Nigerians about several allegations bordering on fraud leveled against her predecessor, and officials of the ministry she inherited. So she must have heard about how the ministry spent billions of naira reportedly feeding school children during the long holidays forced on schools by the pandemic. So if, despite the poor public perception of the distribution of palliatives as a schedule for fraud, Beta Edu still allowed herself to also become a subject of proof when there is more to it than meet the eye in the tendency for top office holders to brazenly abuse their offices and inflict immense pain on the poor. Our Our premise today is that the issue at stake is not uh, just personal greed. In addition, there must be an inexplicable political agenda that constantly propels office leaders to act exactly the same way as those they succeeded. So, to unravel the puzzle, there is the need for or to examine certain realities that some people dismiss as conspiracy theories. The most prominent being the expectation which Nigerian political parties have of their elected members. So unlike what happens in many other democracies, Nigerian political parties do not rely on membership subscription to fund party activities. They fund um, Instead, party funds are usually donated by their members in government, which explains why such officials automatically translate to party leaders. As we hear, many parties actually categorize amounts expected from each appointee. So we can therefore not rule out the likelihood of looted funds, okay, funding their way to the parties or finding their way to the parties. So we are also free to imagine that reckless looting in Nigeria is perhaps influenced by the assurances of official protection promised every perpetrator. So the sleaze may thus continue while another minister may soon be caught with no substantial consequences. Oh boy. So this is exactly the analysis we are getting here from Tony Iridia about how corruption in Nigeria is endemic and how some ministers will soon be caught after Beta Edu, because one, Beta Edu, before she became a minister, um, had been involved in a lot of financial cases in Cross Rivers, and also have heard what happened in the parastatal, that Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, what happened to her predecessor. Okay, but she didn't learn from all of that. With the way she grew up speedily to a political leader, starting with being an APC national women leader to becoming a minister, everything worked very fast for her, and she was in a fast lane. So she thought she would get everything cruising like that forever. But unfortunately, she fell into the trap because the 585 million naira is far, 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 far lesser than what other ministers have looted, even far, far, far more than the allegations she had faced, even when she was a Cross River State official as a commissioner for health. Okay, so with all of that put together, she did learn lesson. That means that other ministers will also not learn lesson. Other politicians definitely, with all that is happening, with all the arrests that's going on, with all the investigation going on, they still will not learn lesson. So we will not be surprised if after Beta Edu, another minister is caught. Definitely another minister will be caught. That is the position of Tony Iridia. Nigerian politicians don't learn lesson. Their interest supersedes and beclouds their behavior. And so the next thing is to go ahead and loot and say nothing will happen. So thank you for listening, and let's have your comment. That is coming from Tony Iridia.